So during lockdown, as many people will know because I shared a lot about the process, I wrote my memoir. I had started it just before, on the 11th of November, and halfway through the writing of it, obviously we all had to stay indoors and isolate, which was quite intense. And I completed Daffodils on the 7th of May, so just before we came out of lockdown. And I just thought I would read you the opening chapter. So just a little teaser, a little test, putting it out there, seeing what people think, seeing how it sounds. So yeah, this is just the very brief first chapter of Daffodils, my memoir. A BBC radio presenter once asked me when I started writing. The answer was easy enough. It was one I'd given many times, in varying ways, throughout my career as an author that far. The next question surprised me though. And what was happening around that time? I'd never thought about that. What had been happening around that time? I tried to think. It felt like seconds ticked by too fast, the radio silence getting fatter and louder, the gap between his question mark and my answer stretching endlessly. We had to go and live somewhere else, I said eventually, knowing how vague my words were, and that the listeners wouldn't know that the we were my 3 siblings and I. When we tell our own stories, because they are so familiar to us, we presume everyone knows the characters as intimately as we do. Our own truths make us lazy writers. I mean, my sisters and me, I said, trying harder. Claire and Grace I could have added, but the editor in me kept their privacy. We didn't have much time, not even chance to grab a favourite toy, before we went with this strange woman in a daffodil yellow car. I didn't know where our little brother was. Colin, my heart said, and I had no idea what had happened to our mother. The realisation haunted me long after I left the radio station. I had started writing, properly writing, not just in my head but on scraps of paper, after my mother's first suicide attempt, when we were separated from her, suddenly and without explanation, for 6 months. Then, when I later had notepads, I'd record lavish stories in detail there. Looking back, most of the necessary skills were already in place. They were these. I loved to read, and I'd been making stories up in my head since I was tiny. I inherited my mother's fluency with language, and I was fascinated with how the arrangement of musical notes on my father's sheet music became a melody. I could walk into a room and get a sense of who was happy, who was sad, who was a threat, who was trustworthy, and what people were trying to hide. I was invisible because what I wanted to say didn't matter to anyone. I'd smile with concealed teeth, something I got berated for, and put my words away, the way we do special biscuits for a worthy guest. I liked my own company and I had a ridiculously vivid imagination. These skills are perfectly suited to writing. Of course, I didn't know that then. I only knew how absolutely right and absolutely natural it felt to open a notepad and put down words. I could trust in it. It was all mine. It was a safe place. It was dependable. It gave back what I put into it. It listened to me. No one told me I was good at it, but that didn't matter because something unfurled in me when I wrote. I had a voice. It felt like a gift, but a gift can't be used until the wrapping is torn away. My mother's first suicide attempt was that rip. I was 9 years old.